Hello, and welcome back to the Collector's Corner, the podcast that demystifies art collecting with me, Antonia Piersanti. Today, I'm speaking with Toni Nolte, a Cologne-based collector and medical doctor who heads a department at the University Hospital in Bonn. Toni considered a career in art, but she changed her mind, and she shares why she eventually chose to study medicine. However, since then, she's dedicated all her free time to her passion. With Toni, we talked about why she only very recently got into collecting paintings, despite starting buying original art in her early 20s. We also spoke about the places she loves to visit and unexpected details that inspire her and could also help aspiring collectors train their eye. Above all, Toni is a very active supporter of young and emerging artists, and we dive into the initiatives she has been leading to create a bigger platform for them in the Rhineland region. Our conversation with Toni was super inspiring and refreshing, and I love the perspective she brought. I hope you enjoy it too. Hello, Toni.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Welcome to Berlin.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm really excited.
Really happy to have you. So you came from Cologne today, where you live, but you work in Bonn, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so you're a medical doctor at the University Clinic Bonn, where you head the department for phoniatrics and pediatric audiology, is that right? Which is, if I remember correctly, conditions related to speech, hearing, balance also. So
Yeah.
internal balance, so internal ear. So very, very niche, but probably very fascinating.
Yeah.
And in parallel, you're a very active and seasoned collector. I don't know, how many artworks do you have now in your collection?
I actually don't know. I think it's 70. I'm not sure.
70, wow. And how
Could be
many?
more.
As you lost count. How many artists? All different artists, or some that you collect?
Some I collect, and from others I only have one work. So.
So that means you then started very young.
Yeah, I was 20 when I bought my first work.
So how did that come about? Studying medicine, so I don't think you come from a collecting family. You obviously didn't study arts. How did it happen?
Well, I grew up with art. My parents are also very interested into art, and on the weekend we were living near Frankfurt, and my father always took us to all the museums in Frankfurt, and almost every weekend actually. And when we were on vacation, we went to a lot of museums too. And then I went to an art school, and it was a class about photography.
Or was this before you started studying medicine?
Yes, it was when I was a teenager.
Oh, okay.
I was 13, I think. And I went to the dark room every week, and we developed our own films, and I learned a lot there. And then I went to boarding school in the States, and I had photography as a class. So I actually wanted to study photography in the beginning and not medicine.
Really? What happened?
I don't know. One day I realized that it's more like my hobby than my profession, photography. So I decided to go to med school.
What do you mean by I realized it was more a hobby?
It didn't fulfill me. I realized that I couldn't do this as a profession my whole life.
Okay, but so you continued on the side also being a photographer, or is that when you started more collecting photography?
My first works were all photography, actually. So that's like the main, most of the works are photography in my collection, actually.
Oh, cool.
So. But I still do photos, but only with my smartphone.
Oh, you don't have all the
I still
equipment.
have the equipment, but it became very complicated because there are not many places where you can bring them to get the films developed, because I used to work analog all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really expensive too. And I'm also for me, it's very important that the quality is good, and like the colors of the films are also different from the different brands. And
Interesting. So you're saying there's not a lot of places nowadays where you can get those films developed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do it yourself?
I learned to do it black and white, but I never learned to do it in color.
That's quite a complex process, I can imagine.
You need a lot of different chemicals for that.
Yeah, probably don't want to keep those in your house.
No.
Could get a bit dangerous. What is it about photography that speaks to you?
It's like the special eye. You need a special eye to be a good photographer. You need to learn this. Watch that photography for a really long time until you realize that actually. It's not easy to explain actually. And I'm very interested in shadows and lights. And I look at photography really into like reflections also. I'm not a fan of portraits actually. It's more like landscapes and architecture actually mostly.
Because of the light and shadow, the reflection,
and the colors too.
the depth it gives also to the photograph. Super interesting. Do you have a photographer or a few, I guess, that you really like your favorites?
I don't have favorites actually. I never had that. Well, I've always been a fan of they're called the Becherschule. I don't know if you heard of them. It's like the school for photography in Germany. Bernd und Hilla Becher, they used to be teachers at the academy in Düsseldorf. And their students are like very famous, like Andreas Gursky, Thomas Struh, Thomas Ulf. You probably heard of these names.
I've heard the names, yes.
But I'm not a fan of of this generation of which are the ones who are very famous. I'm more interested in the ones who are more in the niche. Like the first work I bought was by Götz Diergarten. He's not famous. Like I just like the work. It's a little house and it's still hanging above my bed. And I never changed the place.
That was your first artwork that you bought? The start of your collection? Did you continue then with photography or did you expand into other media?
Yeah, it's funny because I just looked at the books. I studied in Hamburg and it's called Deichtorhallen, and it's a museum only for photography actually. And they used to have a bookstore, and there was a guy who was running it, and it was a really good bookstore because he was working with young photographers who weren't very famous, and they used to publish their own books in their own publishing thing.
So they're these big coffee table books, photography books?
Yeah, but not Taschen, not like the famous stuff. It's like really
like independent
small
publishers.
edition, like only 100 books and signed, and some of them also had like prints with it, like with the book. And he had beautiful books, and I started actually collecting the photography books. But then he stopped working there, and now it's run by Walter König too, and the program is not that good anymore. So I also stopped collecting these books because this guy wasn't there anymore.
Oh, so it was all about that person then.
Yeah.
Interesting. But you still collect photography? Sculpture, I believe?
Yes.
And paintings a little bit, but
yes.
not that
getting
much.
into paintings.
You're getting into paintings. Tell me more about that.
The last works I bought were paintings, actually.
Why were you reluctant before? What changed?
In my opinion, there are not a lot of good painters. It's only a few, but the market is full with painters because these are the works which are sold the best, I would say. And the most collectors like paintings. And I don't know, I always wanted to be different maybe. And now I started like with art history. I read a lot of books and then learned more about paintings, and I look different at the paintings now, I would say. And I also approach paintings via photography and also I have some works made out of curtains, for example.
So like fabric?
Yeah, fabrics. And they look like paintings, for example. Or there are also photographies I have, they look like paintings, but they're not paintings, they're photography, That's That's my approach to painting.
Why do you say you don't think there's a lot of good painters? What makes a good painter for you?
That's an interesting question. Well, at the moment, like Instagram plays a big role in the painting business too, and it's like really colored and brightful, and I don't like these works. It's weird. I don't know.
It's more
But
of a taste thing.
yeah, but they sell well and they're really expensive. But in my opinion, these are not good painters. You know, in like 20 years, no one will speak about them anymore. For example, there are a lot of people that make jokes about paintings, or if they like go to a show and they saying, "Oh, I can also paint this." Actually, you know,
Yes.
it looks like a children's drawing or something like that.
Yeah, you hear that a lot.
Yeah, and some of the works, I would say, they really look like it.
I know what you mean. I've certainly felt that way. Not that I could do it, but
Mm.
struggling to see what's special and what makes this specific artwork worthy of being exposed, whether it's, in a gallery or somewhere else. But I always thought it's missing something, Obviously I don't understand.
But for me, also, like the technique is important. That
I was going to ask about
the
that.
painter can actually paint it. He really learned it, also. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you like the painters, they also do drawings. So you shouldn't only look at the paintings. You also should look at the drawings, you know, if they can actually
If they can draw,
draw.
well, that's a really good tip, actually. Yeah. To see the level of skill and technique and understand that a bit better. Across then your collection, so mostly photography, getting into painting, you have some sculpture. Is there a theme or a focus or something that connects all these artworks?
Well, that that's my photographic eye. Maybe I'm also very aesthetic. Maybe,
What do you mean
but
aesthetic?
how it looks, it needs to be like clean, kind of like medical clean. Sounds weird, but
Not for a doctor.
what else? There's not a theme yet. Maybe there is one which I don't know yet.
When you consider buying an artwork, what do you take into consideration? What makes you think this is something I would like to have in my collection?
I read about the artists. I read about their topics. You know, what interests them, and then
Do you meet them?
yes, for me, it's important to meet the artist to get to know their work better and understand why they're like how this work actually entwickelt wurde,
Develops.
developed. And there are other people, they are not interested in meeting the artist. They just want to see the work. In my opinion, you can understand the artist much better if you understand like their thoughts and what books they're reading and all this stuff. You know, you can't understand an artwork just by looking at it. But other collectors, they only buy what they see. You know?
So the context is important to
Yeah.
the context in which the artist came up with this specific work.
I want to know if they can think deeply and like complicated too. And for example, we did a studio visit in Mexico. We went to an artist and she's working with this orthopedic like reconstructions. And I asked her some questions about like if she is also think about neuroscience and all this stuff, and she really couldn't answer this question. And I don't know, she wasn't interesting for me anymore.
It was more the works at first caught your interest.
Well, I wasn't really interested in her. Maybe I just was curious about to understand her more, if she could be interesting. Yeah, maybe I didn't really get her ideas. So, but then after she wasn't able to answer these questions, I was okay. I'm not interested.
Yeah. Did she explain her thought process though? How
Yeah,
she got to that, and that didn't resonate with you?
no.
So it's not just the work that needs to strike a chord; it's also how the artist came up with it and what the thought process is behind, and those things combined
Yeah.
It's important to you before you consider buying something.
Of course, I don't know all the artists in my collection. No, it's not possible. But since I live in Cologne and there's the academy in Düsseldorf, and so I do studio visits to meet them. I also do come here to Berlin to do different studio visits, since a lot of them, they live here.
You sometimes buy from the studio, or you always go through the gallery?
No, I go through the gallery.
So you wouldn't buy an artist that doesn't have a representation yet?
I would do it, but if they have a gallery, I would always go with the gallery because that's the correct way.
Yeah. And does it happen a lot that you buy artists that are not yet with a gallery?
Sometimes, yeah. Since I have the Salon in my flat and the artists I'm showing, well, it's a funny thing actually. When I ask them if they want to do the show, at that time they don't have a gallery, and during the year it happens that they have a gallery.
Oh, really?
Then I'm buying the work from the gallery, but if not, I buy it from the studio.
Tell me more about the Salon.
I actually had my 6th opening on Tuesday.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So you've been doing it for 6 years?
Yeah, I started just before COVID.
Oh, wow.
And I first showed Pünktchen, or her name is Pünktchen Fang, with her boyfriend Niklas Taleb together. It was a duo show. And it was a couple of weeks before the first lockdown. And then because of COVID, it happened that the works were hanging there for a year. So I decided, okay, I do the show for a year. And it's
this is in your flat?
It's in my flat. It's my guest room, actually. And since I don't use it that much, I was inspired by a friend. He told me, yeah, why don't you do a salon? I was like, okay, I've always dreamed of that. And also like to get more into interaction with the artists, to get to know them better. And these are all artists who live in the Rhineland.
Okay.
And
so you meet them at the academy?
Yeah,
or
or
through
I
connections?
see them at group shows, for example, or at other galleries. And I want to support young artists who didn't have that many exhibitions yet, or are not in the program of a gallery, for example. And then I do a vernissage, and I invite all my friends and the people I know who are interested into art. And it's like a cool happening, everyone is really interested, and I serve beer from my brother's beer, and there's food, and it goes very late usually.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you also select these artists on the basis of whether you would collect them?
Yeah.
Do you have an artwork of each artist that you had in your salon?
Well, actually, not from all the artists. I bought different works from them. But yeah, from most of the shows I have a work. Yeah.
So you're almost like a mini gallery then?
No, I'm not. That's what I always tell the artists. If someone asks me what's the price, I always refer to the artist. I don't want to do that because I want to support the artist. I don't want to get any.
Just giving them visibility,
Yeah.
and giving them the opportunity to meet potential buyers. That's really cool. And you're also on the board of a couple of museums, I believe.
Yes. I'm in the board of Bonner Kunstverein. Since I work in Bonn, it makes sense. And it's really cool place. I love it. Kunstvereine are very special because they only exist in Germany.
Yeah, what are they?
It's like an exhibition hall, and they belong to the cities usually. Or it's a fine. They don't belong to city, but they pay the rent, for example. And the Bonner Kunstverein is like, we don't have a lot of money. We only have incomes by the member fees, and the other income, they're called Jahresgaben. So it's usually before Christmas, there's an opening, and a lot of artists, they give a Jahresgaben to the Kunstverein, and then you can buy them.
In the form of like a donation of an artwork?
Yeah, they also get money for that, only a percentage. So these artworks, everyone can buy them, but of course the members, they first get them. And there are a lot of there are famous artists, for example, and then there's an edition by them, like 10 works, but also unique works. Like my grandfather, for example, he bought a lot of Jahresgaben at the Kölnischer Kunstverein back in the 50s and 60s. And these works are still in my family.
Oh, wow. These are associations that have members, and the members can buy some of the artworks that the associations puts out.
It's supposed to be affordable art. Yeah. Not that expensive. Of course, there are also works which are expensive nowadays. There are works which can cost 5,000 or 10,000 euros, but that's maybe only one piece. And usually they have a portfolio of 30 or 60 works every year. And I always recommend, if you start collecting, go and look at the Jahresgaben of the different Kunstvereine, because you can really see how young artists work, also compared to really famous ones. And the second work I bought is Jahresgabe by the Hamburger Kunstverein, for example.
And these works are visible to the public
Yes.
throughout the year, and then at the end of the year they're sold?
Usually only for a normal show, for 6 weeks.
Okay, so the mission of these Kunstvereine is to display the works or bring visibility also to young
also
artists, to the public.
The Kunstverein wants that every citizen of a city is able to get to see shows. The member fees are pretty low. It's 50 or 60 euros and
per year.
Yeah. There are other museum clubs, they are more expensive, where you need to pay 500 or 1,000 euros. It's this exclusive stuff. But the Kunstverein is supposed to be to introduce every citizen to art. That's the goal.
And you said they only exist in Germany. How come?
Because in Germany, the state gives a lot of money for art and public art, is how I would say, in different, in the States, private people give the money for the museums. They have the boards. They need to pay a lot of money to be in the board, for example. And in Germany, it's the state who gives the money.
These vereins, they complement the mission of other institutions, museums.
The Kunstverein, it's a platform for young artists to have their first institutional exhibition. And if you look back at all the Kunstvereine in Germany, I don't know, Gerhard Richter or wherever, or Rosemarie Tocke, they all in the beginning of their career had a show at the Kunstverein.
Interesting.
But it's not only for German artists, it's for the international art scene.
Okay.
Important institution.
So there's also international artists as a non-German artist that show in these Kunstvereine. That's super interesting. Is it a positive sign then that an artist has exhibited at a Kunstverein, even if they haven't had a big institution or even medium-sized show?
Of course.
I didn't know about this German specificity. And I guess
they also give financial aid to artists. For example, in Bonn, it's called Peter Mertes Stipendium.
It's a grant?
Yeah, and they get, I don't remember how much, but they get money every month. I don't know how much. And then at the end, they have an exhibition at the Kunstverein. And these are usually young artists from the Rhineland who just graduated from the academy.
Very interesting. You're on another board as well?
Yes. Well, we're called Junge Ankauf. And we're a crazy group of 20 people. And we buy artwork by an artist who's below 40 years and who already had an institutional exhibition. And then we give it as a present to the Museum Ludwig. And we're all members of the Gesellschaft für moderne Kunst. It's a club at the Museum Ludwig.
Okay, that's really cool. And that was your own initiative then to support the acquisition of works for the museum to basically buy every year? You do it every year?
Yes, every year, one work. And then we present it at Art Cologne.
Ah, very nice. Did you already buy your artwork for this year?
Yes, this year we bought Cemil Zahin.
Mm-hmm.
She's she's a writer, and she already wrote many books. She's got a lot of grants for that, but she's also an artist, and it's a video work by her.
Nice.
Mm.
How do you agree? It's 20 people, you all have
It's a
your own
democratic
opinions,
decision.
few votes.
I didn't vote for her.
You did not.
No.
But does everybody bring, how does it work? What's the process? Everybody brings an art
Every
suggestion to the
every
table?
one of us can do as many suggestions as he like. And then we have two meetings. In the first meeting, like all the artists, they get presented, and then there's a discussion at the end. And then we vote.
How long does the meeting go? Can you imagine, say, a long discussion?
It's like 2 to 3 hours, I think. But we usually have like
You're pitching, basically.
5 to 8 suggestions. Like not everyone makes a suggestion,
Okay.
so that's the reason. Like some of us, they're like crazy art lovers, and they go like to every exhibition and spend a lot of time with art. And there are also other members who support us financially,
Mhm.
and they're just interested into art.
Yeah, I can imagine 20 people each trying to pitch their suggestion.
Yeah, of course.
You could get very heated debates. But that's a really cool initiative. I haven't heard of anything like it before. So between these two, so your boards, this group you're part of, your own collections, your job, which is probably very demanding, was most of your time then spent in art related endeavors?
Yes. Also, when I go on vacation, for example, if I go to Art Basel, I need to take vacation.
Do you attend a lot of fairs and
Yeah, I
international
do.
events? What do you like
Like,
about them? What does it bring you?
of course, I go to Art Cologne. It's in Cologne. But last year I was on vacation.
You missed it.
I came back Sunday and went there like for 2 hours. And
Do
it's
you ever
okay.
buy anything at a fair?
Of course,
You do, okay.
pretty often actually. Yeah.
Of artists that you've been following or even spur of the moment?
Also, new artists I see, and I fell in love with the work, and I buy it right away. Sometimes I need years in order to decide to buy work.
There's no specific
No,
rule.
no. But I always work with my stomach feeling. So
Do you have a budget at all?
yes, I do. But it's usually gone already in the beginning of the year.
Really? Oh, wow. So you don't stick to it.
No. And sometimes there's like money left, and then I spend it for art again.
Is that something you would recommend to when you get started? Because it is a bit of an addiction, right? You can
It
get
is
carried
totally.
away.
I can't stop. And since COVID, I had so much time, to do research and to look at art, especially online. And well, there was also I had more money because there was not so much I could spend
Yeah.
actually, and then I spent it everything in art. So since COVID, my collection really grew.
During COVID, there was so much disposable income, so art sales, did really well, and now not so much anymore.
Because of the war in Ukraine, everyone is afraid in Israel.
Even people with a lot of money who used to, spend millions on artworks, they put their money elsewhere now. In a way, maybe, only the sort of true art lovers and people who are passionate are left, but that also means some artists might struggle,
Of
galleries
course, there are a lot
struggle.
of artists who are struggling.
But how do you see the future then in that respect?
I don't know. It will be tough, but there will be still a market for like the really exclusive art. But the medium-sized galleries, these will be the ones who will struggle, I think.
What about the
Not
smaller
even the
ones?
young galleries. It will be the middle-class galleries who will struggle because they have a lot of costs, like their rent, then their storage, then also the fares. They're really, really expensive, the fares.
Why are fares so expensive?
I don't know. They just want to make money with it.
I've heard that a lot, that it's such a big deal for a gallery, especially as a young gallery, to go to a fair on in terms of being there, representation, but also the cost associated with it is
Yeah,
crazy.
it's not only the fee for the fair. That's like only one part of it, Then the shipping, like got really, really expensive in the past years. That's the reason why I know a lot of galleries, they are not showing in London anymore because it's too expensive for them to ship the stuff there.
You mean in at London fairs?
Yeah,
Or
for example, yeah. Or they only show like small works which they put in a suitcase and don't need to ship it.
do you think there's going to be more demand for smaller works because of the price, mainly, but also maybe, I don't know, space?
Interesting. I don't know. Well, the size more like in these huge installations that might change, because also the museums, like they also struggle. The
Right.
state doesn't give, in the city, especially the cities, they don't give that much money anymore.
Yeah, you said that in Germany there's a lot of support for art
Mm.
and culture. I feel like at the city level, there's a lot of talk about budget cuts for those areas, which would affect museums, but also, like you said, artists who
Yeah,
benefit
like
from
also
grants and
the large museums, they rely on the donations nowadays. No?
yeah, private donations.
Mm.
So you mentioned you mostly buy through galleries. You also buy at fairs and sometimes directly from artists. You ever bought something online?
Mm. There's enough space. It's actually around the corner here. It's not far. It's in Schröderstraße. They're called, oh, shit, I'm so bad at names. I forgot. Of course, they also, in the first year, they also did Jahresgaben.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a work, and it's by an artist. His name is Bruno Su. I didn't know, I've never heard of him before. And it's a sculpture made of pants and these gloves and rings. And I looked and I thought, oh, it's really cool. I want to have it. And I just bought it online.
So you hadn't seen it?
No,
Wow. And you hadn't met the artist?
I've met him now, actually.
You met him. Okay,
Yeah, by
later on then.
chance, yeah, at a
Oh,
different show. I was talking to him and I was like, and then he told me his name. I was like, oh, cool, I have a work by
that's so cool. So, but that is not a regular occurrence for you to buy
Well, I
online.
buy online from artists who I've seen before.
So when you got started with collecting, you obviously knew photography really well. Did you right away started going to galleries? What did you do? What
Well, maybe that started during my teenager time. My parents did these art trips with us. Our first art trip was to Sicily. I think I was 14 or 15, and my dad, he went with us to all the
But did you like
museums and
it at the time?
churches. No, at that time I didn't like the churches. My sister and I, one day we found out that if we wear shorts, we're not allowed to go into the church.
Clever.
So from that day on, we were only wearing shorts, whatever. Nowadays, I'm the same. I also go into every church to see everything. No, I love churches. It's like, especially the romantic ones. So we continued these trips and we went to a lot of countries since then. And that's how like I started. And then I went to med school in Hungary, and there I didn't have that much time. There are not that many museums too. Of course, I went to see the museums, but I returned to Germany after 4 semesters, and then I did internship here at the Charité. And I was working at heart surgery department, and they started, I think, at 7 a.m. I don't remember. And after lunch, they were always saying, "Oh, you can go home." I had a bike here, and I took my bike and I went to every gallery, I think. That's how I started, you know.
And so you just walked in, and what did you say?
Well, I looked at the work. Sometimes someone came up to me and was, can I help you, or can I tell you anything about the artist? And then I started the discussion with them. And the most important thing is you just need to go and look at as much as you can, you know, in order to see which is good, like to see how the market works too. That's the reason why I'm also going to the fairs. It's not only to buy out there, but to see how the market actually works, you know?
What do you learn at fairs about the market?
There are different stuff. It's about the prices of the artists, like the different changes of the market, and also what else do I learn? I meet new gallerists.
So it's about seeing what the trends are,
Yeah.
where the prices sort of sit, and meeting people.
Mhm. It was pretty funny when I was in Basel this year. One day my sister joined, another day a friend of mine, and the third and another friend, and they were all saying that you're a celebrity. I was like, "So, are you serious? It's a little bit exaggerating."
Stopped at every corner.
Yeah, you meet someone all over, everywhere. Yeah, you know, they're the same people every year.
So that's something I hear as well, that it's actually not very big worlds.
No, it's a small one.
So what is something that you wish you'd known before you started collecting, reflecting back?
Nothing. No, there's nothing. It's more that I want to learn more, you know. I look in the future. I have a friend. She's a collector, and I think it's now like 7 years ago. I asked her if she wanted to be my mentor, and then she was like, "No." I said, "Why?" She's like, "You can do it on your own," and she was right.
I guess you learned from her without even knowing, right? She wasn't formally
Mm,
your mentor, but
no,
you probably spent a lot of time with her discussing art, looking at art. So that was still an important influence in your
of course.
journey. And are there any mistakes you made maybe when you started purchasing arts that you consider mistakes now? I don't know, maybe you spent too much on one piece, or you bought something without thinking about it and then you regretted it. Does that something like that ever happen?
Of course, I have works which I don't like that much anymore, and I'm pretty sure that I won't hang them again. But I don't regret that I bought it because they were hanging at my wall for several years and I really enjoyed the work. Maybe it will change again. In 10 years, I will unwrap it and realize, oh, that's amazing.
So you keep them, you don't sell them.
No, I've never sold a work.
Why not?
No one asked me.
I guess you could go to a dealer,
Of
no?
course. Yeah, I could.
But you don't want to.
No, no. Well, actually, a gallerist, they asked me if I would sell. She's an artist. I have several works by her, and it's like a really small piece. And they asked me, okay, if I would be interested in selling. I was like, okay, if you have someone who's interested, then ask me. But then I didn't hear anything anymore. So I think if someone would approach me, I would suggest to do it. I don't know.
Is it typically the same gallery where you bought that might also sell the same artwork?
Mhm.
Even if they don't represent that artist anymore, then
That's also what I learned. Galleries, they are not only they don't only represent artists. They're also art dealers and are
okay.
also art advisors, kind of. They're gallerists, and you know their program changes. You know, some of the artists they leave them, and some of the artists they don't, and they have collectors, and they're still interested in the works by the artists, but they don't work with them anymore. So they try to help to buy still a work by them. So then they're working as an art dealer.
Well, I thought you have to always go directly to the gallery that represents the artist you're interested in. But you're saying another gallery can act as a dealer because it could be somebody you trust or you've worked with for a long time. You don't have to go to a specific art dealer to do that for you.
Yeah, there's so many art advisors in the world. It's like crazy. If you know someone who used to work for a gallery and then they quit their job, you ask them, okay, what are you doing now? Most of the times they answer, yeah, I'm an art advisor now.
That's a tough job though, right? Because you need to find clients. I mean, unless you take them with you from the gallery, but
And
I don't know what that would look like. I'm not sure you have a great reputation for doing that.
that's the reason why it's so important to connect yourself, to meet as many people as possible. Creators, artists, but also collectors and art dealers.
If I'm a new collector or I want to become one, you already said look at as much art as possible. Where else should I spend my time, or how else should I spend my time? What should I do?
I would go to the museums and go to the middle age departments.
Tell
You
me
learn
why.
a lot about art there
Why?
because it's like the most amazing works, actually.
So, like
You
13th
know,
century?
Hieronymus Bosch, for example. There's so much to see in his works. It's like you can watch at these paintings. I could watch them for hours and you will see something new.
What kind of paintings are they?
It's like these, it's a story with a lot of these are, I don't know the word in English, in German we call them Fabelwesen. These are like human beings, but they look like animals, like, and it's not a real world. It's like this fantasy world he was painting. It's like crazy with demons and really and amazing colors. And
So when you say painting from that era, Middle Ages, so it's like what, 14th, 13th century,
yeah,
12th
also
century?
Renaissance time.
Renaissance is, I
The earlier
imagine, like quite dark colors,
no,
but
it's not
not in
dark.
his
It's not.
case.
That's. It's definitely not dark. This was like one of my most beautiful trips I did. Was It was right after lockdown, like a week after Italy opened their border. I went to Tuscany, and I went to Florence, and the churches they were empty. Yeah, and I spent I think like 5 days in Florence, and I almost went to every church. And then I realized that these painters in the early Renaissance, they were like fashion designers. It's so crazy.
How so?
Like Botticelli, he was painting these like transparent clothes and so fashionable and different. Like another painter, he painted these leggings with these scorpions on it. And it's like, I was like crazy. Now I know why these fashion designers get their inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing is those are really small details, right? When you look at these paintings and to notice what you're saying, you have to sort of like just sit, look at the painting for quite a long time, and
Yeah.
you always see something new.
And the first day, since I'm really bad at names, I forgot the name of the painter. It's a famous Italian painter. I went to this church and they were this couple, and she was wearing this really, really elegant coat with this hat. And I looked at it, I was like, wow, I want to have the same. And then I was so impressed. At every painting I looked, I was only looking for fashion on the whole trip.
So that really influenced you,
Yeah, totally.
the hats.
Or if you ever been to Grunewald Altar in the Alsace,
Mm-mm.
you need to go there. It's amazing.
What is it? Is it a museum?
Yeah, it's in a museum. It's a altar.
Yeah.
It's a huge painting. It's different paintings too, and it's very famous. Actually, I've been there 3 times already. I think, or 4. If I'm in the area, I always go there again. Yes, it's so beautiful. What you said that is dark. This altar is not.
I just imagine, like wood, dark
No,
dark
no, no.
colors, but not at all.
Go to the
I'm intrigued.
Gemäldegallery here.
Yeah.
They have so amazing work.
They do have really cool works. Unfortunately, the building is not
beautiful.
That's not very nice, but the works, yeah, it's a really interesting collection. I agree. Cool. I have a couple more questions. What's the last artwork you purchased?
It's a painting. His name is Rhineland, and he will open his show tomorrow, actually. So I just bought it this week.
Here in Berlin?
No, in Cologne.
Who's one artist that you don't own yet, but you're really excited about?
Oh, there are 1,000 artists, which I'm not able to afford.
Well, okay, one that you could afford then.
Which I could afford. Good question. Oh, there's a painter. I follow him for a couple of years now. His name is Lucas Müller. And I saw new works by him at the Liste in Basel. And I was so amazed how he improved. And I really want to have a work by him.
So you'd been following him for a little while.
Yeah, he's also working in a duo. He's working with another artist. That's the reason why I know he's working.
And in your collection, is it mostly artists from Germany or the DACH region, or that studied there?
No, it's international.
It's international.
Well, all the students at Academy, they're international students. The Kita Gauchi, the artist I'm showing now, she's from Georgia, for example.
She says she's a student in Cologne. How would you describe your collection in one word?
Elegant.
Oh, very nice. I like that. And who's a collector that you look up to?
Oh, there are several. Yeah.
Come.
The one I told you, who I asked if she would be my mentor for.
Your friend?
She has an amazing collection. Yeah.
Any others that are maybe high profile? I know there's a lot of collectors, for example, who open their collections to the public.
It's funny, she's Austrian. I met her in May here at the gallery weekend. I didn't know her before, and I was sitting next to her, and we were chatting, and then we realized that we have the same works, actually. I've never seen her collection, but I guess that it's really cool, actually. I would die to see it. I haven't.
I'm sure she'll invite you eventually. Awesome. Well, thank you. Really enjoyed this.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Toni. I'm Antonia, and this was The Collector's Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, subscribe, and follow. I would love to hear from you. You can reach me on social media or on the podcast website, thecollectorscornerpodcast.com. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.